behalf of the Friends of the Black Run Preserve elders, Ron Pugh, Amy Golden, and other key members present here today, Jane Dean, Dan English, Sandy Lieberman, Mike Kaliss, and Ben Fadool. It's a privilege to welcome the honored elders and guests to the Black Run Preserve ground blessing. All of our elders have ties to this land, a few stretching back thousands of years, others hundreds of years, some decades, and the youngest among us will inherit it. We hope today's blessing recreates a deeper human bond with this land, better enabling it to provide its gifts for all living things. It's my honor to introduce Gould Jacinto of the Lenni Nation, who will explain the nuances of the ground blessing.
Before I read what I have written for you, I just wanted to let you know that we are in a desperate time to figure out how we can save this planet. We're running out of fresh water. For 70 years, we've used pesticides, herbicides, and it's destroying the life of this planet. And we have to now figure out a way to secure it for the next 7 generations. Because we are borrowing this land from our future. So I just wanted to say that. And I really appreciate everyone that has ties to this beautiful preserve. And this is a beautiful step into healing Mother Nature. And thank you. So in our native culture, ceremonies are not just events or rituals. They are significant spiritual practices that connect us with our ancestors, the natural world, and the divine. Each ceremony often carries symbolism, history, and significance passed down through the generations. This ground blessing ceremony involves a series of rituals, prayers, offerings, and symbolic gestures to honor the land, the ancestors, and the spirits inhabiting it. It is a deep connection to the earth, a recognition of the interconnectedness of all living beings, and a commitment to symbiosis and harmony with nature. As I stand here on this sacred ground of the Black Run Preserve, I am not just present, but I am one with the land, the spirits of our ancestors, and the vibration of life that surrounds us. In this special moment, awaiting the new moon, I offer my gratitude and reverence to all that is, acknowledging our shared spiritual journey. As I face the east, where the sun rises, I lifted my head toward the sky, where the sun meets the earth in a golden celebration. In the east, the yellow signifies the dawn of a new day, the birth of possibilities, and the promise of renewal. Here, I bless the soil of the east, the direction of new beginnings, and the element of air to bless this gathering and guide our intentions with clarity and wisdom. As I walked to the south, I felt the sun's warmth on my skin and the fiery energy pulsating from the red earth beneath my feet. In the south, the red symbolizes the keepers of the earth, my people, passion, vitality, and the internal flame of transformation. Here, I bless the soil of the south, the direction of growth and expansion, and the element of fire, and it ignites our hearts with courage and determination. When I walked to the east, the west, I was blessed with the horizon's mysterious depths, where the fading light gives way to the embrace of darkness. In the west, black represents silence, the internal light, the unknown, the unseen, and the mysteries that lie beyond our understanding. Here I bless the soil of the West, the direction of rest and peace, and the element of water to cleanse our spirits and guide us through the depths of subconsciousness. When I walked to the north, where the cold winds whisper ancient secrets and shadows cover the sleeping earth, I stood in stillness of time. In the north, white symbolizes purity, wisdom, and the enduring strength of the earth. Here I honored the soil and the direction of wisdom and guidance and the element of the earth to ground us in the present moment and connect to the wisdom of our ancestors. In this sacred space, time moves not in a linear motion, but in a circular dance where past, present, and future converge in a timeless embrace. As we stand here together, not just as observers, but as active participants in this spiritual journey, surrounded by the beauty and majesty of the natural world. Let us remember our place within the circle of life and honor the vibrations of all living beings. With offerings of gratitude and prayers for harmony, let us begin this new beginning with open hearts and minds, knowing that we are in a sacred symbiosis with this land and guardians of its legacy for generations to come. Aho.
One of the first European peoples to arrive in the Lenni Lenape homeland were Swedes and Finns. Through mutual respect, these cultures coexisted in peace. So to this day, the Nanakoke Lenni Lenape nation maintains a 350-year-old friendship with Sweden. We had hoped that Chief Mark Quiet Hawk Gould of the Nanakoke Lenni Lenape nation would be able to be here today, but he's not feeling well. But in his place, I've been asked to invite his youngest descendant.
No, the youngest.
Well, we have
His descendants.
his
family.
So we have my grandchildren and my children here today. So I just wanted to all of us to get together and say a prayer because he woke up this morning not feeling well and he doesn't miss much. So for him to say that he couldn't be here, we just want to uplift him with our prayers and our good thoughts that he continues on this planet for more journeys. Thank you. Thank you.
As the idea of the Black Run Preserve began to become a reality, the focus was upon its Pine Barrens ecology and making it accessible for healthy outdoor activities. Meaning, Connie Evans added the Quaker cultural connections to this land. And today we have the good fortune to hear from descendants of the Evans family and Wills family who arrived in West Jersey in 1677. I'm pleased to introduce Larry Klotz.
So let's go back 350 years to that time, just after 1677, 2 years later, when these newly arrived Quaker immigrants were developing a colony in this area. They called it West Jersey, but there was another culture here that called it Shayaki, and that means long, land, water. This is the map description of New Jersey between the Atlantic Ocean, a long strip of land between the Atlantic Ocean and what's now known as the Delaware River. The immigrants had a long tradition of private land ownership, the Native Americans with a long tradition of moving freely across common land with the seasons. So let's take a look at that dynamic. We talked about the Evanses and the Wills, and as owners of this property before it becomes the next third. Some of the early ancestors of the Evanses and Wills did some good things. The John Wills, who my 4 times great-grandfather, was a person who negotiated with the Native Americans to buy large tracts of land for the Quaker immigrants. The Quaker immigrants had purchased this land from the Native Americans, and then they also made deeds with the Native Americans for the use of that land. Connie owns one of these deeds. It's in her house now. And the deed states that William Evans paid £5 to the Indian King Cimarron for 1,000 acres for the land and premises with all the grass and trees on it. So not just the land, but the organisms on the land as well. So the Evanses and Wills have been here for those 350 years and doing those good deeds. They made many treaties with the early Quakers, discussed problems with the Native Americans, and they always had good feelings about the negotiations that they did. When they did have problems, they all got together and just made discussions. And often the Indian elders held sway and talked the younger folks down. The thing I think the best description I've had of the negotiations that took place and the feelings that between the English and the Lenape were written down by a person named Thomas Budd. Thomas Budd Jr. was the son of a Quaker who died in a jail in England for practicing his religion in the mid-1600s. Many of the Quakers that migrated to this area had similar problems with being in jail. Both the Evanses and the Wills were in jail several times before they came to America. Thomas Budd's son wrote the first history of West Jersey. And in it he describes a Quaker elder, a Lenape elder, speaking about the interactions he's had. And I quote this, and as we walk the trails of Black Run, this is what I'm going to be thinking about. And I think it's our Quaker and Lenape elders would be very happy for us to be thinking about this. And I quote the Lenape king, perhaps it was Akhenaten, quote, "You are our brothers, and we are willing to live like brothers with you. We are willing to have a broad path for you and us to walk in. And if an Indian is asleep in this path, the Englishman shall pass by, but do him no harm. And if an Englishman is asleep in this path, the Indian shall pass him by and say, he is an Englishman. He is asleep. Let him alone. He loves to sleep. It shall be a plain path, and there must not be in this path a stone to hurt our feet."
We're not related, but talking with Connie Evans is like talking to my sister Donna. Both keepers of historic knowledge and the wisdom it can hold. So, Connie Evans.
I'm not sure what I'm going to say, because
big part of it that I thought I might speak about. My sister Sue and I grew up on Hillside Farm, which is on land that was part of the land that was purchased from Margaret Cook and also from the indigenous people in 1701. So we grew up with this great sense of history and the past, and obviously our past goes back 50 years, not thousands of years, but it was still kind of felt like an awesome responsibility and blessing at the same time. We didn't live in the main farmhouse, our great Aunt Mary did, but we lived just a short distance down the road, and we're in and out of her house 2 to 3 times a day, every day. Everybody doesn't connect with us, but she did. And she had made it her mission to collect all the old things that she found in the farm, tools and whatever. And she had a room in the attic that she had appropriated as the trophy room. She kept many of these artifacts up there, as well as having things scattered around throughout her house. And one of the things that was down hanging in the hall was the deed with the Native Americans from 1701. And she would very proudly point it out that we have this. And as a kid, it was just so exciting, and it's such a connection. And wow. And then as we aged, or at least I should speak for myself, not my sister, but anyway, as we aged, we came to understand it differently, in large part because our father was who he was, and he was very quick to point out that where the indigenous people had no concept of land ownership or of deeds and what they meant. So for them to sign this deed was, sure, we'll share things with you just as we've shared it amongst ourselves. And as Larry said, the settlers had a very different concept that it was now their property. So through the years, as with many things, and we had a couple meeting a couple of weeks ago, the whole meeting kind of, as it often does, kind of focus on the topic that perception changes with time. And so the perception of what that deed means is very different today than it was in the past. My father took that very seriously, and he was adamant as suburbanization came to East Bend Township, and the farms were all being bought up by developers and so forth, and he was like, we're not doing that. We're not selling this land for development. So it was his mission to somehow return it to public land, community property in some way. And that land is now Cherokee High School, Malton Middle School, Malton Elementary School, Jennings Pond, Green Acres, and the Green Acres that's on the south side of the bypass. So it is back at least in public use.
It's with great serendipity that our next speaker's trip from Washington State is able to coincide with this event, and we welcome Connie's sister, Sue Evans-Ashton.
So Larry says it, Connie says it, I feel it and think the same thing as far as our history and the land. And Connie mentioned how great Aunt Mary is so special to us. And one of my very favorite memories of her was my father had continued to find artifacts also. And she'd sit us down and she'd give us a tour that was found and teach us like how made it and how to get tool they made. How do you think they made it? How do you think they used it? And she put them in your hand and like this scraper. You could feel that person's hand right there where your hand was. And it was just an amazing thing, and she wanted us to understand as much as we could the culture and the importance of the Native Americans. And my mother was the school librarian. She had started the library in the school because there was not many started school. And she continued the tradition. And she would pack up a bag or a basket of these artifacts and take them into the grave and sit all the children down and do the exact same thing. So hopefully, here again, letting everybody know the importance of the indigenous people, their culture, their tools, and it just has meant so much to us.
I think you can see that sometimes a family understands that some of their heirlooms are not theirs to keep. Today, we will bear witness to an exchange between the Evans family and representatives of the Lenni Lenape people. And according to Lenni Lenape customs, we'll have the Evans descendants please come up and stand on the right side of this table, and the Nanticoke Lenni Lenape Nation representatives on the left. Ty and Connie will take it from there.
So, we would like to return and give back what is going to you. I hope you did. And it was life that we took. It's a gesture.
I just want to say thank you. I'm speechless, and I wish my dad was here, but we'll show him the video. I just want to mention that my dad was chief for 45 years. He just retired a year and a half ago. He's 82, so that he can still be our construction manager, because he still is our. So he had to save energy for what he really loves. But if it wasn't for him and his firm foundation of what he helped us create, then our legacy wouldn't be. And I thank you so much. And and I have to say also that when the King and Queen of Sweden came and the Princess came, they asked me to make a special gift for her. personal museum, and it's in the Swedish museum, and it's a scallop shell pouch where I gathered scallop shells down where we live, and we still have a long-standing relationship. It is. It is. Thank you so much. And these are just these are cedar and sage from my yard and sweetgrass, just to bless it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, your whole family. This is, thank you. And you know, we have a nature reserve in Salem County, and that's where these will be. We have a big, beautiful building, and they'll be there for everybody for the whole future. We also have a reserve that was green acres, so it's always green acres. So it will be there. We will make sure it goes into a display cabinet that's secure before we put it up. That's where it's going to be displayed for everyone that visits our program. Thank you so much. Thank you.
This area, they grow in the marshy soil, the acid soil, and Native Americans use it for food and medicine. Water is terribly important for cranberries because you have to flood, they grow in the bogs. You drain it in the summer so they can grow. Then you have to flood them in the winter to keep the cold out and to kill insect larvae. So there's a complicated system of dikes, dams, and side ditches to make it all work, to move the water quickly. So anybody who hikes in Black Run is very aware of the reservoirs, the bogs, the ditches. Cranberries began to be cultivated in New Jersey in the mid-1800s. It was the cranberry fever that sort of struck the area. People were trying to, they thought it was really going to be a high-income crop. And for a time, South Jersey was the largest producer of cranberries in the country. Two local Quaker farmers, dairy farmers, vegetable farmers, got into the cranberry business. They were brothers-in-law named Joseph Evans and Joshua Wills. First, they purchased a large tract of Friendship, which is near Speedwell, Chatsworth, which they bought from their Wills relatives. And then they expanded to Coexon in Bedford, and then finally the Willow Farm they developed here in Evesham. It's what is now King's Grant on Taunton Road. It was named the Willow Farm because the previous owners had grown willows there. Joseph Evans himself also owned additional woodland in this area. He purchased two adjoining sets of bogs, the Schaefer and Busby bogs, right in this area, and reconditioned them. There was a cranberry packing house that stood on Taunton Lake Road where the CVS is now. The berries were shipped to market by railroad, big wooden barrels from Marlton and Medford. Evans and Wills Company, which was called, and the Joseph Evans farms, which were separate, together were some of the largest local growers. For example, in 1924, they produced 10,000 barrels of cranberries out of a national crop that year of 610,000. In the 1920s, blueberries were added at the Friendship Farm. In the 1950s, the three farms of Evans and Wills, which totaled more than 5,000 acres, were split up among the family members. And the Joseph Evans bogs were joined with the other bogs, the Willow Farm here in Evesham. Then in November 1959, disaster struck because the Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare dramatically announced that Americans should avoid all cranberries. This was right before Thanksgiving. What had happened was traces of a potentially cancer-causing herbicide had been found in berries on the West Coast. It only affected a few berries, a few farms, but the way it was announced so dramatically killed the market for 2 years. It just bottomed out. Haynes and Wills have had good years and bad years, like any farm. But for the Willow Farm and Friendship, this loss of market for 2 years was a fatal blow, and over the next decade they went out of business. Happily, the farm in Medford, Coexon, remains as a working cranberry farm. It's on Hawken Road. It's owned by Tom and Christine Gerber. Tom is a fourth generation cranberry farmer. The Friendship Tract became part of the Wharton State Forest. It's now labeled on the map as historic Friendship districts. This is to sell it. The northern part of the Evesham property is King's Grant, as I said. The southern part is here. It's a large part of Black Rock. Black Rock is other properties too, but a large part of this is that. Precious Pine Barrens ecology is being preserved, as we heard today, for all of us to appreciate. And I felt very much listening to what was being said today, that my perspective is very much on this, reciting this history, is very much the European impact on this land. That's what it is. So it is what it is, but we all understand perceptions change, needs change, and history moves on.
Connie has often said that her parents were very good stewards of this land, as most, if not all, cranberry, blueberry farmers that are in Pine Barrens truly are conservationists at heart and really did their best to keep this land as pristine as it could be within a cranberry operation. Selling their land to the developers of King's Grant in 1965 would bring about changes. This land was basically left alone, known as, at that point in time, King's Grant Phase 2. So the part that we see now as King's Grant was begun in the 70s, and the cranberry packing house that was there that was supposed to be turned into a restaurant was torn down for some reason. And it was going to expand here. But again, through serendipity, 1979,